I paid for my brother's wedding, then found out I wasn't even invited. I found out I wasn't invited to my own brother's wedding 3 days before I wired the final $18,000 payment. And the only reason I found out was because his fiancée accidentally sent me the seating chart. My name wasn't on it. That's how I discovered I had funded an event I wasn't welcome at. Let me explain how it got that far. My younger brother, Tyler, has always been the golden one. Not because he was more successful. I'm the one who owns a house, runs a stable business, and helped our parents refinance when they almost lost theirs. But Tyler was charming, charismatic, the kind of guy who could mess up repeatedly and somehow make everyone else feel bad for being disappointed. When he got engaged to Madison, everyone acted like it was a fairy tale. She's perfect for him. She balances him out. She'll help him grow up. Translation, maybe marriage will fix him. 2 months after the engagement, Tyler called me. Not to share excitement, not to ask advice, to ask for money. Just a small loan, he said. Weddings are expensive. Small turned out to be $12,000. I hesitated. He borrowed before. Car payments, business ideas, credit card bailouts. But this time felt different. It's for something real, he said. It's my future. I wired the money. No contract. Just trust. A month later, he called again. Venue upgrades. Catering increase. Photography package. Another $9,500. Last time, I swear. I should have known better. But he's my brother. And when our dad quietly said, "You know he doesn't have anyone else," I folded. Over the next 3 months, I paid for the venue deposit, the band, the open bar, the honeymoon flights. By the time we were 2 weeks out from the wedding, I had transferred just over $41,000. He never once said thank you without adding, "I'll pay you back." He never once offered repayment terms. And I never once asked, because I assumed something basic, that I would be there, not just as a guest, as his best man. We grew up sharing a room. I taught him how to drive. I covered for him when he crashed mom's car at 16. When he got arrested at 22 for a bar fight, I bailed him out. So yeah, I assumed I'd be standing next to him. 3 days before the final vendor payment was due, Madison emailed me. Subject line, updated seating chart. I opened it casually, scrolled. Table 1, immediate family. Mom, Dad, Madison's parents, Tyler, her sister, her cousin. I kept scrolling. Table 2, wedding party. Bridesmaids, groomsmen. Not me. Weird. Maybe I'm at a different table. Table 3, Table 4, Table 5. Co-workers, college friends, distant relatives. My name wasn't anywhere. At first I thought it was an oversight, so I texted Tyler. "Hey, just saw the seating chart. Where am I sitting?" 3 dots appeared instantly, then disappeared, then came back. Finally, "Oh, yeah, about that." My stomach dropped. "About what?" I replied. Another pause. "Madison thought it would be better if you didn't come." Didn't come. Like it was a preference. Like I was a coworker who might not vibe with the decor. I stared at the message, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. I called him. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Bro, don't freak out," he said immediately. "I'm not freaking out," I replied, voice steady. "Explain. It's just, things have been tense." Tense? Madison feels like you judge her. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. I've met her 5 times. She thinks you don't respect her. So I'm not invited to your wedding because your fiancé thinks I don't respect her? It's not like that. It sounds exactly like that. He exhaled loudly. "Look, man, weddings are stressful." She didn't want any weird energy. Weird energy. From the guy paying for the open bar. "So I'm not your best man?" I asked quietly. Silence. "We decided to go in a different direction. Not him. Who's paying for the wedding?" I asked. He didn't answer. Tyler. Another silence. You are, he muttered. And I'm not invited. It's not personal. Not personal. $41,000. And it wasn't personal. I already told people you weren't coming, he added quickly. So it would be awkward to change it now. That's when something shifted inside me. Not heartbreak. Not rage. Clarity. You told people I wasn't coming, I repeated. Yeah, I said you had work. I almost admired the efficiency. He'd removed me socially before removing me physically. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked. I didn't know how. Of course he didn't. It's hard to tell your financial backbone that you're cutting him out of the celebration he funded. When were you going to tell me? I pressed. After the wedding. There it was. He was going to let me pay the final installment. Let me sit at home. Let me see photos online. And hope I'd swallow it quietly. Do you still expect me to cover the last payment? I asked calmly. A long pause. It's already due, he said carefully. That wasn't my question. Another pause. Yeah, he admitted. I kind of need you to. Need. That word again. Need when it benefits him. Exclude when it doesn't. I ended the call without yelling, without threats, without drama. Then I opened my banking app. The final $18,000 was scheduled to wire at 9 a.m. the next morning. All I had to do was cancel it. One tap. That's it. $41,000 already gone. $18,000 left. And the wedding was 3 days away. I stared at the confirmation screen. Because here's the thing no one talks about. Family betrayal doesn't feel explosive at first. Feels quiet. Like the air leaving a room. Like realizing you've been useful, not loved. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Please don't make this a thing. Too late. It already was. And for the first time in our lives, I wasn't sure I was going to be the one cleaning up his mess. I didn't cancel the transfer that night. That's what makes this worse. I stared at the banking app for almost an hour, thumb hovering over the screen, knowing one tap would collapse his entire wedding. But I didn't do it. Not yet. Because I needed to understand something first. Was this really Madison's decision? Or was Tyler hiding behind her the way he always hid behind someone? The next morning, I called my dad. Did you know I'm not invited? I asked. Silence. The kind of silence that tells you someone absolutely knew. Your brother said you were busy, he replied carefully. I'm not busy. Another pause. Well, Madison thought it would be better if things were calm. Calm from what? I asked. He sighed. You can be intense. Intense. That's what you call the sibling who pays your mortgage when you're short. That's why I'm not invited? Pressed. I don't want to get in the middle. You already are, I thought. You've just chosen a side. I hung up and called Madison directly. She answered on the second ring. Oh, hey, she said brightly. No hesitación. No cuernis. I got the seating chart, I said. Oh, her tone shifted immediately. I'm not on it, I added. A beat. Then she exhaled like she'd been rehearsing. Tyler was supposed to talk to you. He did. Silence. Can you explain it to me? I asked. It's just that. You make me uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. I had never once had a one-on-one conversation with her longer than 10 minutes. In what way? I asked calmly. You look at me like you don't approve. That was it. No fight. No incident. Just a vibe. So your solution was to uninvite the person paying for the wedding? You offered to help, she snapped. There it was. Offered. As if I'd volunteered blindly. As if they hadn't called. Asked. Followed up. And pressured every time a vendor invoice came through. I didn't offer to be excluded, I said evenly. Tyler didn't want drama. Drama. The word people use when they want control without accountability. You think this won't cause drama? I asked. She didn't answer, because she hadn't thought that far. They both assumed I'd swallow it. Like I always had. Like I always did. After we hung up, I opened my email and pulled every receipt. every invoice, every transfer confirmation. $41,382, all documented, and the final $18,000 pending. At 8:43 a.m., Tyler texted me. "Did you send the last payment? Not how are you? Not can we talk? Just the money." I didn't reply. Instead, I called the venue directly. "Hi, this is Daniel Harper," I said. "I'm listed as the financial contact for the Whitmore wedding this Saturday." The woman on the line confirmed it. "I need to make a change to the payment method," I continued. There was a pause while she pulled up the account. "Yes, sir. I'd like to remove myself as responsible for any remaining balances." Silence on her end. "Is there an issue?" she asked gently. "No issue," I said. "Just correcting something." She explained that the final balance hadn't cleared yet. It was scheduled for 9 a.m., which meant I had 17 minutes. 17 minutes to decide if I was going to fund a wedding I wasn't welcome at. My phone buzzed again. "Tyler, bro?" Another message. "Please tell me you didn't cancel." He knew. Of course he knew. Because the second I didn't confirm, panic set in. I stared at the clock. 8:52 a.m. I thought about every time I'd covered for him. Every excuse I'd made to protect his reputation. Every "he'll grow up eventually." And then I thought about that seating chart. My name missing like I never existed. 8:55 a.m. I told the venue coordinator, "Please stop the transfer." She asked once more if I was sure. "I'm sure." She confirmed the cancellation. Just like that, $41,000 gone, $18,000 saved. My phone exploded immediately. Tyler calling. Again and again. I let it ring. Then a text. "What the hell did you just do?" Another. "They won't let us in without the balance." Another. "You're ruining my wedding." I finally replied, "I thought you didn't want drama." 3 dots. Then nothing. 10 minutes later, my dad called. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I corrected something," I said calmly. "You embarrassed your brother."
No, irraplia.
He embarrassed himself. "You could have handled this privately." I almost laughed. "I was being handled privately," I said. "After the wedding." Silence. Then the line went dead. By noon, my mom called crying. Madison's family was furious. The venue required full payment by Friday evening or they'd release the date. Tyler couldn't secure a loan in time. Apparently, his credit was still wrecked from past mistakes. Shocking. At 3 p.m., he showed up at my house. Not angry, panicked. "You have to fix this," he said the second I opened the door. "I'm not invited," I reminded him. "That doesn't matter right now." There it was. The truth. I only mattered when I was useful. "It matters to me," I said. He ran his hands through his hair. "You're really going to destroy my wedding over a misunderstanding? Being uninvited isn't a misunderstanding. You're overreacting. I funded your entire wedding. You offered. You asked." We stood there in silence. For the first time in our lives, I wasn't budging. "I'll put you back in," he said quickly. "Best man. Front table. Whatever you want. Whatever I want." Like it was a bargaining chip. Like respect was a seat upgrade. "I don't want to attend," I said. He blinked. "What?" "I don't want to be somewhere I wasn't wanted. That's petty."
No, irrapliavanly.
"That's self-respect." His face hardened. "You're choosing money over family." I looked at him carefully.
No,
"I'm choosing dignity over manipulation." That's when his tone changed. "You always do this," he snapped. "Do what?" "Act superior because you have more." There it was. Resentment, not gratitude. "You think paying gives you control." "No," I said quietly. "I think excluding someone who pays is stupid." He stared at me like I'd betrayed him. But the reality was simpler. He had gambled on my silence. And lost. "Are you really not going to fix this?" he asked one last time.
no.
He shook his head slowly. "You're going to regret this." Maybe, but I doubted it. Because for the first time, I wasn't cleaning up his consequences. And as he walked back to his car, phone pressed to his ear, already scrambling for solutions, I realized something. He didn't uninvite me because I was intense. He uninvited me because once the money was in, I was no longer necessary. And nothing terrifies people like losing the person they thought would always bail them out. The wedding was less than 48 hours away, and without me, it was hanging by a thread. The wedding was supposed to be Saturday at 4. Friday at noon, the venue officially released the date. I know because Madison's mother called me screaming. Not asking, not negotiating, screaming. "How could you do this to them?" she yelled the second I answered. "I didn't do anything," I replied calmly. "I stopped doing something. You ruined months of planning." "No," I said. "They did. When they decided I was good enough to pay but not good enough to attend." She hung up on me. By that evening, word had spread through both families. Some people thought I was cruel. Some thought I finally grew a spine. Most just wanted someone to blame because plane tickets were already booked. Tyler texted me at 9:17 p.m. "It's canceled." Just that.
No anger. No insults.
Just 2 words. I stared at the screen for a long time. I expected to feel victorious. I didn't. I felt empty, because this wasn't about revenge. It was about being reduced to a bank account. Saturday afternoon, instead of putting on a suit, I went for a drive, out past the edge of town where the houses thin out and the roads get quiet. I parked near the lake we used to fish at when we were kids. I sat there for a while thinking about how simple things used to be, back when brother meant automatic loyalty, not negotiation. Around 5 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Tyler. I considered ignoring it, but I answered. He didn't speak right away. I could hear wind on his end. "You happy?" he finally asked. "That wasn't the goal," I said. "They're all saying it's my fault." I didn't respond, because it was. "They think I used you." "You did." Silence. Then quieter. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." That sentence hit differently. Not because it excused anything, but because for the first time he sounded like he understood the scale. "You were going to let me pay," I said evenly. "Then let me find out from pictures. I was going to tell you after." "After what? After you couldn't take the money back?" He didn't answer. The wind got louder on his side of the line. "She said you'd try to control everything if you were there," he muttered. "I never once told you how to run your wedding. You judge her." "I question you," I corrected. "There's a difference." That's when it clicked for me. Madison didn't dislike me. She disliked that I saw through him. And he didn't like that either. Because when you've spent your whole life coasting on charm, the one person who keeps receipts feels threatening. "Dad says you humiliated the family," he added. "I didn't post anything," I replied. "I didn't expose you publicly. I just stopped funding something I wasn't part of. You could have just come quietly." That almost made me laugh. "You didn't want me there. I would have fixed it." "When?" "Eventually." Eventually. That word again. Always later. Never now. "Do you know what hurt the most?" I asked. He didn't respond. Not being uninvited. Not losing the money. It was realizing you didn't think I'd stand up for myself. He inhaled sharply. "I didn't think you'd blow it up." "I didn't blow it up," I said. I stepped back, collapsed on its own. Another long silence. Then, softer than I've ever heard him, "I messed up." There it was.
No excuses. No deflección.
Just that. "I know," I said. "You really wouldn't have come?" he asked.
No.
"Even if I apologized?" "It's not about apology," I said. "It's about understanding why it happened." He didn't argue, because deep down he knew this wasn't about one decision. It was a pattern, and for the first time the pattern cost him something real. The wedding never got rescheduled. Madison moved back in with her parents a month later. I heard they were taking space. Turns out it's easier to build a fantasy wedding than a real partnership, especially when it's funded by someone you plan to sideline. Tyler and I didn't talk for almost 3 months after that call. Then one day he showed up at my door. No panique, no demand, just him. I got a second job, he said. I waited. I'm going to pay you back. I studied his face carefully. This wasn't pride talking. It wasn't ego. It was shame. You don't have to, I said. Yes, I do. And for once, it didn't sound like manipulation. It sounded like growth. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. Not for the full amount, but for the first installment. I should have told her no, he admitted, when she said you shouldn't come. Yes, I agreed. I didn't want to upset her. And you were fine upsetting me. He nodded slowly. I thought you'd always be there. That one landed. Because that's the real truth behind most family betrayal. They don't think you'll leave. They think you're permanent. So they treat you as optional. I'm still here, I said, but not the same way. He understood what that meant. I would help if he fell, but I would never again finance his choices blindly. Respect is the price of access, and I wasn't discounting it anymore. As he walked back to his car, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady, because sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't look loud. It looks like withdrawing the thing they took for granted. And if you think I was wrong for canceling the payment instead of quietly attending a wedding I wasn't wanted at, tell me in the comments, and subscribe now because the next story makes this one look calm. My husband put a DNA test in our son's Christmas stocking. The first gift my 6-year-old opened on Christmas morning was a DNA test. It was wrapped in shiny red paper with his name written in my husband's handwriting. From Daddy, it said. Everyone was smiling when he tore it open. By the time he finished reading the box out loud, no one was. He sounded proud at first. Look, Mommy, it's a science kit. Then he squinted at the front and slowly read, Home.
Paternit Ypsilon.
Test. The word hung in the air like smoke. My mother stopped mid-sip of coffee. My sister's jaw dropped. My father just stared at my husband like he didn't recognize him. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just looked at my husband. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't embarrassed. He was watching me, carefully, like this moment had been rehearsed in his head. What is this? I asked, my voice quieter than I expected. He leaned back in his chair, casual. It's just a test. For peace of mind. Peace of mind. On Christmas morning, in front of both our families. Our son looked between us, confused.
Hats paternit Ypsilon.
I swallowed hard. It's nothing, baby. Just grown-up stuff. No, my husband said calmly. It means we're making sure Daddy's your real dad. The room went silent. You could hear the Christmas music playing faintly in the kitchen. Some old soft carol about joy and miracles. My son's smile faded. You're my dad, he said, confused. My husband forced a chuckle. We're just checking, like our child was a package delivered to the wrong address. I stood up slowly. Can I talk to you in the kitchen? He didn't argue. He followed me. The second we stepped out of sight, I turned to him. What the hell are you doing? I whispered. He didn't raise his voice. That's what made it worse. I deserve certainty. Certainty. I repeated. You've raised him for 6 years. And? He replied. And you were in the delivery room. I snapped. You cut the cord. That doesn't mean biology, he said flatly. The air left my lungs. Where is this coming from? He crossed his arms. He doesn't look like me. I stared at him. Our son has my dark hair, my eyes, my mother's nose. He looks like me. You've never said this before. I didn't want to ruin things. So instead, he saved it for Christmas morning, in front of an audience. You think I cheated? I asked quietly. He didn't answer directly. There were moments, he said carefully.
Moments.
You worked late a lot back then. I was finishing my degree. You were distant. I was exhausted and pregnant. His jaw tightened. I just want the truth. No, I said slowly. You want control. That's when his expression shifted. Just slightly, like I'd hit something accurate. 3 months ago, I went back to work full-time. Got promoted. Started earning almost as much as him. Since then, he's been different. Shorter fuse. More questions. More comments about traditional roles. He'd never outright accused me before, but he'd made jokes. Hope the boss isn't keeping you too late. Must be nice having male coworkers. I thought it was insecurity. I didn't realize it was building toward this. You embarrassed me, I said. I didn't mean to. Then why not ask me privately? He didn't answer, because he wanted witnesses. He wanted pressure. He wanted to force me into agreeing right there, so if I refused, it looked suspicious. I understood it now. This wasn't doubt. This was a test of power. I walked back into the living room. Everyone was pretending to focus on the tree. My son was sitting quietly, the box in his lap. Mom, he asked softly, did I do something wrong? That broke something inside me. I sat beside him and pulled him into my arms. You didn't do anything wrong, I said firmly. I looked up at my husband across the room. We'll take the test, I said. A flicker of triumph crossed his face. But not today, I added. And not like this. He opened his mouth, then closed it, because now everyone was watching him. He had staged the moment, but he hadn't expected me to stay calm. He thought I'd panic, cry, refuse. Instead, I agreed, and that unsettled him. Fine, he said stiffly. The rest of Christmas felt hollow. Presents opened quietly, conversations forced. My mother avoided looking at him. My father didn't speak to him at all. When everyone finally left, the house felt heavy. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the unopened DNA kit sitting on the counter. Why now? I asked without turning around. He leaned against the doorway. I told you, I need peace of mind. No, I said again. Why now? Silence. Then, because I heard something. My body went cold. Heard what? That you weren't always at night classes. My mind raced. Night classes. 6 years ago. You mean when I was pregnant? Yes. Who told you that? He hesitated, which meant it wasn't solid. It was gossip, or worse, projection. I just need to be sure, he repeated. And if he's yours? I asked. He didn't answer immediately. I guess we'll see. We'll see. That sentence felt wrong. Not relieved. Not hopeful. Just calculating. I turned to face him fully. If you're wrong, I said quietly, you don't get to pretend this didn't happen. He didn't respond, because somewhere inside he already knew something I did too. If this test came back proving what I've always known, it wasn't just going to give him peace of mind. It was going to expose why he needed it in the first place. We didn't take the test that day, or the next. The DNA kit sat on the kitchen counter like a loaded weapon, untouched but impossible to ignore. Every time I walked past it, I felt that same tightness in my chest. Not because I was afraid of the results, but because of what it meant that he needed them. He went to work Monday morning like nothing had happened. Kissed our son on the head. Told me he'd be late. Normal. Too normal. I waited until the front door shut before I picked up the box and read the instructions carefully. Saliva samples. Online registration. Chain of custody seal. Results in 5 to 7 business days. 5 to 7 days to measure the strength of a 6-year marriage. When he got home that night, I had dinner ready. I wanted him calm, predictable. We should do it, I said, gesturing toward the box. He looked almost relieved. Tonight? Yes, let's get it over with. He nodded quickly, too quickly, like someone eager to rip off a bandage. We called our son into the kitchen. It's just a science experiment, I told him gently. We're sending our spit to a lab. He giggled at the word spit. My husband watched closely as I swabbed our son's cheek. Then he swabbed his own. When it was my turn to seal the envelopes, I noticed something strange. His hands were shaking. Not dramatically, just enough. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. That was the first crack. We mailed it the next morning. The waiting started immediately. Day 1, he was distant. Day 2, he was overly affectionate, offering to cook, asking if I needed anything. Day 3, he picked a fight about nothing. "You've been cold," he accused. "You accused me of cheating in front of our child," I replied evenly. He ran a hand through his hair. "I said we'd see. That phrase again. We'll see." It didn't sit right. On day 4, I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked his laptop, not because I suspected cheating before, but because his behavior after mailing the test wasn't anxiety. It was anticipation. He'd forgotten to log out of his email. I wasn't looking for an affair. I was looking for context, and I found it. 3 weeks before Christmas, he had exchanged emails with a lawyer. Subject line, custody inquiry. My heart started pounding. I opened the thread. "If paternity is uncertain," he'd written, "how does that affect asset division?" Asset division. There it was. The real motive. Not heartbreak. Not betrayal. Preparation. He had been laying groundwork. If the test proved our son wasn't biologically his, he could distance himself emotionally and financially. If the test proved he was the father, he could still claim reasonable doubt as emotional distress in divorce proceedings. He wasn't searching for truth. He was building leverage. My stomach twisted, but I kept reading. Another email caught my eye. Different sender. A woman named Claire. The message preview read, "I can't keep waiting forever." I clicked it. "I understand things are complicated," she'd written, "but you said you'd have clarity by the holidays." Clarity by the holidays. My hands went cold. Another message from him. "I will. I just need confirmation first." Confirmation. The DNA test. This wasn't about doubt. It was about exit strategy. He wanted to be sure our son was biologically his before he left. Because leaving your child is one thing. Leaving someone else's child is easier to justify. I closed the laptop slowly. The house felt too quiet. That evening, when he came home, I watched him differently. He kissed our son, asked about homework, complained about traffic. Routine. Calculated routine. "Did you ever plan on telling me about Claire?" I asked calmly. He froze mid-step. "What?" I held up my phone with the email open. Color drained from his face. "That's not." "Don't," I said sharply. "Just don't. It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," I replied. "You're planning to leave." Silence. "I needed options," he muttered. "Options. Like we were a business deal. Before or after the DNA results?" I asked. He didn't answer. "Is that why you did it publicly?" I continued. "To make me look unstable first? That's not fair." "No," I said quietly. "What you did wasn't fair." He paced once across the kitchen. "I just needed to know," he insisted. "No," I corrected him. "You needed an excuse." His jaw tightened. "That's not true." "Then why email a lawyer before you had any proof?" He had no answer, because the timeline didn't lie. He'd already imagined a life without me. He just needed justification. The room went still. "You embarrassed me at that gala," he said suddenly. I blinked. "What does that have to do with anything?" "You were laughing with him." "With who?" "Daniel, the investor." I stared at him in disbelief. "You think I slept with someone because I laughed?" "You were different that night." "I was confident," I said. "There's a difference." And that's when I finally understood. This wasn't about infidelity. It was about control slipping. I wasn't financially dependent anymore. I wasn't insecure. I wasn't shrinking. And that scared him. "You thought if the test showed he wasn't yours," I said slowly. You could walk away clean. He didn't deny it. And if he is yours? I asked. He looked at the floor. We'll figure it out. That answer chilled me more than anything else. Figure it out. As if fatherhood was optional. The email notification sound broke the silence. Both of our heads snapped toward my phone. Lab results available. 5 days, not 7. My pulse thundered in my ears. He stared at the screen. Neither of us moved. Because whatever that email said wasn't just biology. It was going to decide who he really was. The email sat there between us. Lab results available. Neither of us touched it for a full 10 seconds. Felt longer. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the soft cartoon playing in the living room where our son was sprawled on the rug, completely unaware that his entire sense of safety was being measured in percentages. You open it, he said finally.
No, he replied calmly.
You wanted this. You open it. His jaw tightened, but he reached for my phone. His hands weren't shaking this time. They were steady, almost braced. He logged into the portal, entered the confirmation code, and clicked the PDF. I watched his face as he read. Not the screen, his face. Because whatever that document said, I wanted to see the truth before he tried to shape it. His eyes scanned left to right, stopped, went back to the top, then down again. His lips parted slightly, and the color drained from his face. What does it say? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. He just handed me the phone. Probability of paternity. 99.9998%. Biological father. Confirmed. I didn't feel triumph. I felt something heavier, because the number didn't just confirm biology. Confirmed intention. He had been ready to dismantle our family over suspicion he manufactured. Well, I asked. He swallowed. I guess he's mine. I stared at him. Guess. He ran a hand through his hair. You know what I mean. No, I said evenly. I don't. He started pacing. This doesn't change everything, he muttered. Took me a second to process that sentence. Doesn't change everything? I repeated. I had reasons to question it. No, I said firmly. You had insecurities. He stopped pacing. You were different after you went back to work. Yes, I said. I was confident. You didn't need me the same way. There it was. Not doubt. Fear. I married you, I said. Not because I needed you to survive. Because I wanted you. He didn't respond. Because that's the part he couldn't control. You hired a lawyer, I continued, before you had results. He looked up sharply. You went through my email? You went through my maternity timeline with a private investigator. Silence. You were planning your exit, I said. You just needed the cleanest version. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed softly. You handed a paternity test to a 6-year-old on Christmas morning. He flinched at that. Good, because that moment should haunt him. I panicked, he said finally.
No, y correcta.
You calculated. That hit harder. He leaned against the counter, suddenly looking tired. I didn't think it would blow up like this. It always amazes me when people say that, as if actions exist in isolation, as if humiliation doesn't echo. You accused me in front of our families, I said. You involved our son. He didn't defend that part, because he couldn't. What were you going to do if the test came back negative? I asked quietly. He hesitated, which was answer enough. You were going to leave, I said. He didn't deny it. That hurt more than the accusation ever could. Not because I wanted to stay with someone who doubted me, but because I finally understood something. He wasn't afraid I cheated. He was looking for permission to leave. And if biology had handed him an excuse, he would have taken it. Our son ran into the kitchen at that moment. Can we watch a movie? He asked, oblivious. I crouched down and hugged him tightly. Yes, I said softly. We can. I looked up at my husband over our child's head. This doesn't go away, I told him quietly. He nodded once. I know, but I don't think he did, because confirmation didn't fix what he broke. Trust isn't rebuilt by percentages. That night, after our son fell asleep, we sat across from each other at the dining table.
No phones. No distractions.
What do you want? He asked. Finally, a real question. I want honesty, I said, not suspicion disguised as science. He looked down. I was scared. Of what? That you'd outgrow me. There it was again. Not betrayal. Abandonment anxiety. You don't prevent that by accusing someone, I said. I know. And Claire. He exhaled slowly. It wasn't physical, but it was emotional. He nodded. He had been lining up a soft landing, just in case. That realization didn't make me scream. It made me calm, because once you see the full picture, the confusion disappears. You don't trust me, I said.
I do. No. I correcta, Janli.
You trust me when I'm smaller. He didn't argue, because he knew. The DNA test proved one thing, biology, but it also proved something else. He needed me to fail to justify leaving. And when I didn't fail, he didn't know what to do. I'm not divorcing you tonight, I said finally. Relief flashed across his face. But I'm not pretending this didn't happen either. His relief faded. What does that mean? It means therapy, transparency, or we end this properly. He nodded slowly. For the first time since Christmas morning, he looked uncertain instead of defensive. And uncertainty was good, because confidence had nearly destroyed us. As I went upstairs that night, I didn't feel victorious. I felt aware. The test confirmed he was our son's father, but it also confirmed something else. He was capable of turning doubt into a weapon. And if you think I should forgive him because the DNA proved he was right to want certainty, or if you think handing that box to our son was unforgivable no matter the results, tell me in the comments and subscribe now.